Hi, this is Paul Nickerbricka, founder of Be Your Best Academy, where champions aspire to share, sweat, smile, and yes, succeed, where we bridge the gap between your potential and gain performance. I have with me 3P Sports' Rick Peterson, and I'm excited to say that we're going to join forces and team up, and we're going to adopt his 3P program into our existing pitching advanced program. So very excited about that. In being in front of a lot of parents and coaches and players, I often get asked the question, how can my son improve velocity? My response is, well, there should be part B to that. How can I improve my son's velocity in a healthy way? So you have to do things the correct and proper way. What better person to address that question of how do I improve velocity and not get injured? So Rick, enlighten us on some of the things that you do to enhance velocity in a pitcher.
Well, that's a great question, Paul. And I got to tell you, through all the years of being as a major league pitching coach, #1 in Moneyball era with Billy Beane, and Billy would always joke and say, Rick, who's our velocity coach? And I said, well, it's important that we have one. But again, one of my favorite quotes, and you'll hear me say this many times, in God we trust, all others must have data. So we started to look at, is there some data, is there some basic research on how do we increase velocity and maximize velocity? And actually, Dr. Axe, A-X-E, was a fellow of Dr. Andrews.
From Delaware, I might add.
Exactly right. And he's done international studies of amateur pitchers, and he classified both these, had two classifications with criteria for elite pitching. One was velocity, and the other was distance. And so he took each individual pitcher and he classified them elite, good, fair, and below average. And what he found was all the pitchers that had the best velocity threw the ball the furthest. And I find it kind of interesting when you look at international competition, when they look at all throwing contests for the gold medals, no one's testing velocity. We're all looking at distance. So one of the things that we started to look at is what relationship is there to distance and velocity? And we found that there's a direct correlation, provided the fact it's done correctly. And so one of the things that we've been able to do through this research is to find out what is the best way, the best technique to throw long distance so that we're doing this properly, so that we're getting the stride length, we're getting the levels of the hips, the levels of the shoulder, we're making sure that the arm is in proper position at foot contact. And so we've come up, the 3P Sports Solution has come up with a procedure of how we long toss properly, and that's a core part of this pitching program. And through all the years that we've done this at the major league level, through 12 years at the major leagues, we've made sure that long distance throwing is a core part of our fundamental program. The other thing that I found interesting is that the first year we implemented this program in Oakland, we had over 20 pitchers in the organization have an average velocity increase of 2 to 4 miles an hour. That's off the charts. And you're talking about professional pitchers. You're talking about guys from 18 years old all the way to 28, 29. These are guys that you would think that would hit their high-end velocity. As director of pitching development for the Baltimore Orioles last year, we had over 30 pitchers have an average velocity increase of 2 to 4 miles an hour. So the cause and effect is there without question. So if you want to improve your velocity, the 3P Sports program, #1, to make sure that your delivery is solid, it's flawless, and #2, to make sure that as part of your core program, that long distance throwing is done properly from a biomechanical standpoint so that we have the best opportunity to increase velocity.
I don't know if you heard that, but he said that he's improving velocity 3 to 5 miles per hour at the very highest elite level. That's unheard of. And so be very careful, parents, coaches. You know, people will come up to you and say, I've improved his velocity 6, 8, 10 miles per hour in 3 weeks. Doesn't happen. So this is doing away with all the fluff and getting down to the real stuff where you can measure, where we videotape it, where we analyze it through the 3P Sports, and that's how you get it done. Thanks, Rick.
My pleasure, Paul.